In yet another off-season move, the Mets have signed Freddy Peralta to their roster. They have their starting pitcher. They have likely their ace. Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. That's Ashley Wenskoski. I'm Samantha Croston. We are joining you for a rare second time in one damn day. Y'all are just hearing too much from us at this point.
I think that this is a first. I don't think we've ever done two in one day to my knowledge, but we should point out it's 1 a.m. So I guess it is the next day by that token. Hi, I'm fresh off another catastrophic performance for the Syracuse men's basketball team tonight. Back to talk about the Mets once again. I have my ginger ale. This is my 1 a.m. beverage of choice because ginger ales are made for press boxes and planes. And I was in a press box tonight. Thank you for coming.
That's fantastic.
Anyways,
Let's all
that's not on topic.
no, but let's be clear about something. Ashley, I saw her drink a Celsius today, so expect this to be a very high energy episode.
Yeah.
She's also probably on hour, I don't even know, maybe 11 or 12 of her shift. The girls are going through it in January, but we needed to come on here and do this at approximately 1:01 in the morning because we needed to discuss this. The New York Mets really went from zero to hero. I mean, they really went from the kid who got bullied to the bullier. I
It
mean,
went
it
from
is
tired to wired real quick.
in a week or less. David Stearns, I was wrong. I was wrong about you. I have to take it all back. Everyone, it's so funny to look at Twitter. Everyone's like, masterclass, boy, genius. This man has been through so much. I actually feel badly. David
It's
Stearns, we need to give you some credit.
it's so over, we're so back. That's life of a Mets fan. We've really been on the we're so back train for the last couple of days in particular. I do have one ask for him. I've been highly tantalized by the moves he's made as of late. Does that man begin his workday at 9 p.m.? Why are they David Stearns and the midnight moves never fail. One, Soto was late. Everything this offseason has been late. This guy, he's got a flair for the dramatic, I'm telling you.
Although, if these things were happening at 9 a.m., it would be safe to say that we would be sleeping for several hours past that.
This is better
So,
for us.
but if he wouldn't kindly mind a 2:30 move, that would go a long way. Until that day comes, let's talk about a few things here, okay? This is an all-star. The Mets also got fellow right-hander Tobias Myers from the Brewers. The return was Brandon Sproat and Jett Williams, who are two of the Mets' top prospects. Let's just begin with Peralta and we'll just dissect it one by one. He is a two-time All-Star coming off of a career season in which he went 17-6 with a 2.7 ERA in 176 innings across 33 starts. He is one of just two pitchers, him and Dylan Cease, with at least 200 strikeouts in each of the past three seasons. He also ranks 10th in the majors among qualifiers with a 3.40 ERA and third in opponent batting average over that span. This is an A pitcher. This is the pitcher.
The Mets got their ace tonight, albeit a rental, which we'll talk about. But you sort of felt like the offseason was simply not going to be complete until this move, until the front of the line starter was acquired. And honestly, even based on David Stern's comments earlier today, the first episode that we did today, which is an outrageous sentence to say, David Stearns was at Bo Bichette's official, Met unveiling, and he said something to the degree of, I quoted it on the first episode, we're hoping to get a front of the line starter, but we might not, essentially. A crisp 6 hours later, David Stearns has what David Stearns wanted. No matter how many bats they acquired, you knew that you needed a pitcher. You also knew you needed to shore up the bullpen in some senses. They did that too. Jeff Passan said right after he broke the news, within the last week, the New York Mets have added the frontline starter they needed, the big bat they needed, and the center fielder they needed. Off seasons are long. A slow November and December does not preclude a monster January, and that's exactly what the Mets unleashed. You saw this start to trickle out. I think it was John Heyman. You saw trickles like 20 minutes before this deal got done. Mets Twitter was exploding. there was some back and forth. It kind of leaked that it was going to be Sproat and Jett Williams, but that other player, Tobias from the Brewers, had not come out yet. So there was some back and forth, but I think you have to like the deal as a whole if you're a Mets fan. Yes, they gave up a lot. Yes, you can say it's for rental. I mean, they gave up the third and fifth ranked prospects in their systems. That's certainly a price to pay. But what I have to say about Sproat in particular is Sproat has great stuff. We watched him down here in Syracuse. We talked to him. Sproat has ace caliber pure stuff, but I think he very clearly was the odd one out here. You knew the Mets sank their claws into Nolan McLean and Jonah Tong, and they were in some way, shape, or form untouchable. That left Brandon Sproat as the odd man out.
100%. I want to say one thing about David Stearns. If he's married, I believe it. And if not,
I think
he's going to make because I was going to say he's going to make a wicked husband because he has mastered the art of ensuring that he does not overpromise so that when he does deliver, it really, really hits. He lied today. Let's be honest. He lied, or at the very least, he motherfucking fibbed, or at the very least, he exaggerated. I mean, come on. He was out there telling us, spinning us a web of lies, sitting on a throne of lies. He was like, we might have to push this off until this, that, and the other thing. He had this in the works the whole damn time. It literally dropped like 6 hours later. He
I
knew
know.
exactly what he was doing. But honestly, I kind of appreciate that because I think he understands this market enough to know that if something went wrong or it wasn't 100% set in stone, it wouldn't go over well. Case in point, Steve Cohen randomly deciding to tweet saying, "Let me know when you see the smoke." I'm going to be honest, it was a flop. And I think that David Stearns recognized that. Back to the original point.
I'm gonna be
Adding,
honest. Wait, I have something to say on that. Steve Cohen and the let me know when you see smoke. We were in a dark time about a week ago, not even when they missed out on Kyle Tucker. Steve Cohen took the reaction from that very personally.
uh, and I'm okay with that because it means that that sort of hate motivates and inspires him, and that's the kind of owner that I want. So I really appreciate the fact that he had a bounce back week
Yep.
like no other. He did not play after he saw the reactions to that tweet, and I respect that. Adding to Peralta's value is his $8 million salary for the 2026 season. As ESPN puts it, a bargain for a pitcher of his caliber before he's slated to reach free agency. I'm reading from an ESPN article right now. The small market Brewers, after determining they did not have a realistic shot at re-signing Peralta, found that trading him for the right package was preferable to letting him walk. They did the same thing with Devin Williams. Now, what that does mean is that he is going to reach free agency, and I think that is something worth discussing. But here's the good news. I really feel that if the Mets were going to give up what they were willing to give up, then they must have had some sort of conversation that at least led them to believe that Peralta was open to resigning here. And we shan't forget. I'm not even sure if that's a real word or not, but I just really like using it. This is a guy who had worked with Stearns previously
Yeah.
with Brewers. Stearns was there for his development. They probably had some kind of a relationship already going on here. All very good signs when you think about what this could mean for the Mets and Peralta in the future.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I said that we actually discussed this Peralta thing on the earlier episode for like 3 or 4 minutes. And what I said earlier today was that I think if you're the Mets to give up what you gave up here, two top five prospects in your system, you have to be relatively confident or at least know that it's on the table that he'd be open to signing an extension in New York because I don't think you make that move otherwise. We had a commenter also on that other episode. Shout out to Albie Square. Albie Square. That's funny. And I thought this comment was really interesting because Peralta is a guy who can be your ace. For all that we're saying, their ace front of the line starter. Yeah, he was that in 2025, and he was that in like I believe it was 2021, another season throughout his career. But he's had ups and downs. There's been moments where he hasn't exactly been perfect. So this commenter, I'm going to read it because I loved it. He said, the more I dig into Peralta, it's like I understand why people love the idea of him, but I don't know what he actually is in reality. But 200 strikeouts 3 years in a row and 150 plus innings pitched 3 years in a row. But K percentage is down last 2 years, walk percentage is up last 2 years. Really good 2021, down years in 22 and 23 and 24, and then really good year again last season. The only season he's pitched like an actual top line pitcher were 21 and 25. So what is he? That was a very insightful response, and I agree. I know that pitchers, even ace caliber pitchers, can be streaky. I mean, look at what happened with Sean Manaea. The Mets were absolutely fooled hook, line, and sinker that he had turned it around, and last year they paid the price for that. So I guess what I'm saying is there's obviously room to be cautious on Peralta, but there's room to be cautious on pretty much every frontline starter out there.
100%. And listen, at the point that they're at now, this is what the rotation looks like, right? You have Peralta, you have Nolan McLean, who obviously fans are, I mean, at least for me, I'm more excited about him than anybody on the roster. You have David Peterson, Clay Holmes, Sean Manaea, and Kodai Senga with Myers and Jonah Tong, who are also in the mix there. I mean, that's looking a whole lot better with the addition of Peralta. Like you mentioned, I'm not going to be dramatic about it and say there's no point to get all these players if you weren't going to get a starting pitcher. But if you're really interested in being a World Series champion, if you're interested in doing something that the Mets have not done since 1986, this was a must have. This was a need. This was a clear, you have to get a starting pitcher.
Yeah.
And they did it. It got it. It was to the point where Steve Cohen tweeted again and said, what an incredible week. Let's go, Mets. I am happy for him right now, man. Great ball tonight, baby.
LFGM, some might say. No, I think you no longer have to. It's not as far-fetched now to picture the Mets as a playoff team. Even, I mean, 48 hours ago, right? We didn't have Luis Robert Jr., we didn't have Peralta, Bo Bichette was newly acquired. Like, the changes that have gone on in a very short amount of time have been substantial. I think that the Mets sent a message now, once again this week, that they do intend to win, and they intend to win now, and they intend to give it their all, which is obviously the direction that they should go when you have two likely future Hall of Famers on your team in Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto. As we've been saying all off season long, it would have made no sense for them to take the left turn and say, we're going to play the young guys and we're going to see how it goes this year. You don't do that the year after you sign Juan Soto to a record-breaking $750 million deal. I also think that the bigger positive here on Peralta is you knew that they needed a starter, but they needed a starter that was his caliber. All of a sudden now, the pressure is going to be off Nolan McLean, because you know as well as I do that Mets fans, and they've had pitching examples in recent memory, right? Harvey Day and, Syndergaard, that's recent history, let alone everything with the franchise and all of the great pitching talent that they've had. My point is, we were staring a situation in the face where Nolan McLean was, not the opening day starter, and like the Mets were trying to quell it, but everybody was looking to him to be that ace type of guy. That is a lot of pressure to put on a player in what is technically going to be considered still his rookie season. Nolan McLean is eligible to win NL Rookie of the Year next year if he shows out. So I know you have other guys that have been, 1Bs in Manaea and in Senga still in the rotation, but you needed a guy to just take that pressure off of some of the young talent. And so I like this move for that reason and that reason alone.
Totally get that. Let's also just briefly talk about Myers. 27 years old, excelled as a starter as a rookie in 2024, regressed a little bit in 2025. He had a 3.48 ERA in 31 starts over the past two seasons, and then a 1.62 ERA in 18 relief appearances. So obviously that is a small sample size, but you have to think that that is also the role that the Mets are seeing him in. And I did sort of like to see that they didn't just get Peralta. That's obviously the big part of this trade. But if you are going to give up two players, it's nice to get two in return.
Yeah, and Myers is a deal. I think I saw he's making $800,000 this year. He has years of team control left. That's a smart move, especially from a guy who, you said it, was really successful last year in that relief role that he was in Milwaukee. Really pitched to a low ERA. They needed bullpen depth almost as bad as they needed a starting pitcher. So to just throw that in, that's not like I feel like a lot of times in these big blockbuster deals, you see the ace, the star, and then you see the casual throw-in. I know Tobias Myers is going to be looked at as the casual throw-in, but I don't think he should be. I think we're going to get to a point with this team in June and July where we actually really recognize that he has a lot of value. And I mean, he has pitched in long relief. He could be a spot starter if you need him, though with some of the pitching depth they have, I don't know if they will. But Tobias Myers was a really good pickup in my eyes. And the last thing I have to say, which is not the last thing I have to say, but another point on Freddy Peralta that I think is an underrated storyline here. What a tremendous influence now on the Nolan McLeans of the world and the Jonah Tongs of the world and the Christian Scotts and all of the young pitchers you have around. Now they get to, sure, you had Mania and you had Senga and David Peterson's been around a while, but now they get to actually learn from a guy who, from everything we've seen and all of his time in Milwaukee and even his social media presence, seems to be like a great mentor in that way, you know?
I saw a video today on Twitter where he was saying that for the times that his team would have day games, everyone on the team would be invited over after, and maybe they'd have like a chef cooking for them or
Oh my
whatever
God.
it was. But he was like, it was to the point where people didn't even ask to come over. Like they just knew, and he was inviting everybody, the entire team.
I love
You
that.
want to talk about a culture builder, man. That is something that not that it needs to be the first thing that we discuss, but I think it's important to bring it up damn near every episode that all of the guys who they have been signing this offseason are guys who come with a track record of other players who loved them. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like every single guy who they're signing was either a leader or a mentor or a highly respected guy in the locker room or a guy who really brought the energy. And I know that this is going to sound a little bit crazy to say now because I'm sure that a lot of our viewers just look at the stats, but I'm going to be honest, I don't miss Kyle Tucker. I really don't. Everything that I saw
I know.
was negative about what he would actually bring. He'd seem more, and I don't know anything about this guy. Like y'all know I have never met Kyle Tucker, but I'm just saying the things that were coming out, even anonymous quotes from people who knew him well, it wasn't as good as the things that I'm seeing about guys like Bo Bichette and about guys like Peralta. And I'm so excited to see what a new, revamped, reinvigorated Mets team looks like. This isn't even the team we grew up with, Ashley. Like who the hell even is this team? We don't even know yet, you know?
No, it's certainly not. And it's not even, I saw Howie Rose say this on social media tonight. It is a starkly, vastly different team that is showing up for spring training in 2026 in Port St. Lucie than the one who showed up in 2025. You can say for better or for worse, but I think we all know, at least in terms of a clubhouse standpoint, it's for better. There's really no disputing that. And I love, to your point, that the Mets did make that a real emphasis this year because you don't have the collapse that you had down the stretch last year without a lack of leadership and without some evident cultural clubhouse issues, which we've started to see trickle out in the media throughout this offseason. So they've definitely made an emphasis to sign guys that are clubhouse guys. I mean, Bo Bichette, now Peralta. They didn't sign Kyle Tucker, who was rumored to be not that. They didn't sign Framber Valdez, who has also rumored to be a clubhouse cancer in a way. You've seen them, I guess, really go after the guys who they know can make a positive impact leadership wise. And I mean, if nothing else tonight, like the Mets just signed a guy tonight who finished fifth in Cy Young voting last year. That has to make you feel good. If Freddy Peralta does not get hurt, and the injuries have been reasons why he's had these up and down seasons. If he stays healthy next year, which is a big if, that is guaranteed 200 strikeouts in your rotation all of a sudden that you did not have when you woke up this morning. So no matter that they gave up two big time prospects, and I already saw somebody put out, an ESPN guy, that the Mets farm system now as a whole has dropped from like number one in the preseason rankings to number 5 or 6 because they just lost 2 top 10 prospects. To be honest with you, that's okay with me because they needed to do this. This was a need, not a want. It wasn't an, oh, we want, say they were trading for Kyle Tucker. This wasn't an, oh, we want Kyle Tucker. This was, we need a frontline starter.
And understand something. The Mets and Steve Cohen and David Stearns are still in win now mode. And at the end of the day, that's something that as a fan, I think you just have to appreciate. What award do you really get for having the number one farm system? Fans are not going to look back 30 years from now and be like, remember that one year when our farm system was ranked number one?
Yep. And you know what? My dad said it to me again on this trade tonight. When I kind of said, I don't know about Sproat. Like, Sproat could go be a very good player somewhere. Sproat has ace caliber stuff. He could be a 1 or certainly a 2 or a 3 in rotations for a long time coming. But he basically said it boils down to if you knew they were going to sign Peralta, it becomes who will have the better rest of their career, Brandon Sproat or Freddy Peralta. That's an interesting I mean, maybe Brandon Sproat will go out and win 3 Cy Youngs. I don't know right now here in 2026. But Freddy Peralta has proven that he can do it at the major league level, proven that he's been on the cusp of being that greatness for a long time now, that ace caliber guy. And I think now we'll see if his talents can translate to New York. I have to say something. On all the discussions we've been having about big money spending and big market teams versus small market teams, we're not going to get into all that at a crisp 1:21 in the morning. But if I was a Milwaukee Brewers fan after the season that they had last year and the success that Pat Murphy has brought them in terms of the postseason and getting to it and what he's been able to do with the talent he has on that roster, I get it. You didn't think you were going to be able to re-sign Freddie next year, so might as well flip him for some prospects. Listen, I understand the business side of things. But my God, would I hate my life if I was a Milwaukee Brewers fan, just knowing that after all that last year, they're just blowing it all up to some degree. That would suck.
I'm thinking about my CMY native right now. I'm thinking about my guy
My guy,
Patty.
Pat.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally know what you mean. Listen, the fact, I really mean this from the bottom of my heart, the fact that the Brewers were great made the sport of baseball great. And it makes the sport of baseball great when you have small market teams who are fantastic. It's just more fun to watch that way. It's better TV. It's must-see television, man. So the Brewers, I feel like selfishly will be a team that I'm always rooting for. That being said, I am so happy to have Peralta on this Mets roster. Final thoughts from you, Ashley, and then we'll get out of here. It is 1:23 in the morning.
Final thoughts. It's time. It's good night, and to all a good night. But very happy with what the Mets have done in the past couple of days. Things are really on the up in Mets land, even if it's January and it's snowing in Syracuse. And if you're looking for more on that topic, please refer to the last 3 minutes of our prior episode.
At some point, when we're bigger, Ashley and I are going to start a second podcast that's called The Last 5%. And we are going to talk about all things not baseball. And it's going to be a really fun, interesting, engaging podcast. Until then, thank you so much for watching the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. We will see you back here when the next big thing happens.
Bye.